Run your finger along a list of Premier League towns and cities and there's a glaring omission: Sheffield. The Steel City has a rich football heritage, and the only Premier League city with a bigger population is London. Sheffield has a population of around 558,000, and its total metropolitan area is 1.6 million, making it the third largest English district by number of people. That statistic frames Sheffield's underachievement as a football city, with just 13 major trophies won by its two professional clubs, United and Wednesday. But its links to football date back to 1857, when Sheffield FC, the oldest club still in existence, were formed. The formulation of the Sheffield Rules, the first codified transcription of the game's laws, occurred in 1860, providing association football with the foundation for its contemporary form. Sheffield United, the younger club, were formed in March 1899 by Sir Charles Clegg, president of the local cricket club, primarily because the Wednesday Cricket Club decided to move from Bramall Lane to a new ground at Olive Grove. Clegg needed to create a new entity to generate income for the ground at Bramall Lane. Nicknamed the Blades, a reference to the city's links with the production of cutlery, they were officially tagged the Cutlers, as depicted in the club's badge. United were admitted to the Football League in 1892, joining the second division. They won promotion to the top flight in their first season. Sheffield Wednesday were founded in 1867 as an offshoot of the Wednesday Cricket Club, so named because its membership was drawn from the tradesmen whose only day off work was Wednesday. The aim was to provide sporting activities for members of the cricket club in the off-season, so football, an emerging increasingly popular sport, was chosen. The club used the name The Wednesday until 1929, when they became Sheffield Wednesday. The Wednesday were the first champions of the Football Alliance in 1889-90, and despite finishing fourth in 1892, were elected to the Football League. Football was an important pastime for the working man in Sheffield in the late 19th century. Sheffield itself grew dramatically during the Industrial Revolution. In 1801, the population was 60,000, but 50 years later, it had risen to 161,000. Within another 50 years, the city had swollen to 451,000. Crowds at both clubs began to grow. In 1901, United were attracting regular crowds of 14,000 to Bramall Lane, while Wednesday averaged around 10,000, these figures representing a significant percentage of the local population. The late 19th century and early 20th century was a golden time for Sheffield United. In 1897-98, a team that included gargantuan goalkeeper Willie Falk and England international Ernest Nudger Needham won the club's only league title to date. That followed by winning the FA Cup in 1899 and lifting the trophy again in 1902. At the same time, Wednesday were also in ascendancy, winning two league titles in 1903 and 1904 and the FA Cup in 1907. Wednesday's last league title dates back to 1930, while their last major honour was the Football League Cup in 1991. United's last prize was the FA Cup in 1925. Sheffield's growth peaked in the early 1950s, and its heavy industries started to decline in the 60s. From a football perspective, the city also started to deteriorate at the end of the 1960s when both clubs began humiliating falls from grace. United went down from the top division in 68 but returned in 71 and enjoyed a relatively successful first season back, topping the table in the early months. However, by 1976, they were back in the old second division. Wednesday began a deep decline in 1970, eventually falling into the third division by 1975, and by 1980, both Sheffield clubs were in that third division and crowds had fallen to around 15,000. United's drop continued, and in 1981 they were relegated to the fourth division. Wednesday returned to the top flight in 84 and crowds began to grow once more, but United had to wait until 1990 to rejoin the elite. It's often forgotten that in the last season before the inaugural Premier League, Wednesday finished third, 7 points behind champions Leeds United, and United were ninth. Wednesday were seventh in the first two Premier years, but United were relegated in 1994. Sheffield United did return to the Premier League in 2006, but went straight back down under Neil Warnock, partly thanks to the Carlos Tevez saga at West Ham. Wednesday won promotion back to the Championship in 2012, but didn't make an impact until going painfully close to promotion via the playoffs in 2017, only to lose to Hull City at Wembley. United's 6-year stint in League One ended in 2017-18, and they've made an excellent start to life in the Championship in 18-19. In 17-18, crowds were healthy, United averaging 26,854 people and Wednesday 25,995. their attendances were bigger than 7 Premier League clubs. Wednesday were bought by Thai businessman Dapon Chancery in January 2015, who purchased the club for £37.5 million. As well as making money available for players, he's also improved the training ground and Hillsborough's infrastructure. With the implementation of the Football League's profitability and sustainability rules, which prohibit clubs from posting losses in excess of £39 million over 3 years, Wednesday have encountered major difficulties after running up significant losses. The club suffered a soft transfer embargo between April and August 2018, and in January, Transiri, who's put the club up for sale, warned that the club was likely to suffer a second embargo at the end of the current financial year. Sheffield United are controlled by a parent company, Blades Leisure Limited, which was previously owned by the McCabe family. In 2013, 50% of the shares were sold to Prince Abdullah bin Mossa bin Abdulaziz, a Saudi Arabian royal, for just £1 and the promise of future investment. But the ownership situation is increasingly fractious. Relations between Prince Abdullah and Kevin McCabe have grown more strained since 2017, with much of the tension attributable to disagreements over spending. Both McCabe and the Prince have exercised options to transfer ownership of the club and effectively gain 100% of Sheffield United FC, but the case is currently being adjudicated in court, with the next development expected sometime in May 2019. While Wednesday are blighted by their ownership issues and remain locked in mid-table under new manager Steve Bruce, United continue to achieve in spite of them. Until both are returned to the top flight though, and each club cures its institutional issues, Sheffield, with its rich industrial and footballing heritage, will remain underrepresented at the game's highest level.